When you hear the name Stradivarius, what do you think of?
Yes, violin.
Violins, right? Huh? The perfect violin, the best violin. Now, how many violin specialists do we have here? How many of you can even play a violin? Okay. Now, how many of you know the difference in a violin and a fiddle?
There is no difference.
It's the music that you play on it. Seriously, yeah. Now, so nobody's an expert, and yet when I say the name Stradivarius, we all know violins, the most excellent violins, the best violins. You know why? Because Antonius Stradivarius decided when he was going to start making violins, he wasn't just going to make any violin. He wanted to make the absolute best. He said, other men may make other violins, but I will make the most perfect violin. How many of you are the best at what you do? Like Stradivarius was. How many of you would say, don't raise your hand, don't nudge your spouse, but I'm the very best at fill in the blank. You're the best cook. You're the best husband. You're the best athlete. You're the smartest, the fastest. What? You may be good, but you're probably not the best. We've learned even from being little kids that no matter how good you are, there's probably somebody somewhere that's better. Right? Yes, ma'am?
I'm the best wife for Morris.
Okay. The best wife for Morris. All right? No one could do that better.
Right.
I believe that. I believe
I'm
that.
the best me. No one else can do that job.
No, that's true. I remember as a kid wishing that I was the best at something, even if it was tiddlywinks, just to have that bragging right, Well, I'm going to give us something today that we can all be the best at. Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 13 how we can be the best as individuals and as a church at something not just like tiddlywinks, but something vitally important, and we can be the best at it, that we can do it the most excellent way. Like anything of value, it's not going to be easy. And as we get into this a little further, you're going to go, oh yeah, he's not kidding about that not being easy stuff. Booker T. Washington once said, excellence is to do a common thing in an uncommon way. To do a common thing in an uncommon way, that means you're excellent at it. And what is more common than love? Right? I mean, everywhere you look, there's love. You turn on the TV and it's covered in love. Everybody's in love. They're falling in love. They're falling out of love. They're loving this and they're loving that. The guy that has the My Pillow commercial told me if I bought his pillow that I would love it. Well, I went online and looked it up, and for $50, that pillow better love me back. Yeah, but everywhere we look, we're guaranteed love, right? You're guaranteed to love this peanut butter. You're guaranteed to love this toilet paper. You go on this online dating service, and we can guarantee that you'll fall in love. And yet, in reality, the world is starving for true love. This fake love, this fleshly love, that's everywhere. And if you can fall into it, you can fall out of it, by the way. But that's just everywhere, and it's too shallow, and it's hollow, and it's not helpful. But agape love comes from God, and it is the most important thing in the world. And Paul shows us here how to do it in the most excellent way. 1 Corinthians 13, Paul writes what is probably the most beautiful piece of literature in all of Scripture. I read one commentator who said, to tear it apart in study is like tearing apart a beautiful flower to study it. And yet we have to do it to understand, and how if we're going to make a difference in this world. Do you want to make a difference in this world? It's probably not going to be whatever you were thinking about that you're the best at. You're probably not going to change the world by doing that, by being the best cook or the fastest person. You're not going to change the world, but you can change the world by how you love. If you're going to make a difference in this world for the sake of the name and the kingdom of Jesus, then we can do that by how we love. But we need to keep in mind, though, that as we're reading through this, that Paul is continuing his teaching on gifts. All through chapters 12, 13, and 14 of 1 Corinthians, it's all about gifts. What gifts we have, how they're given, why they're given, who gives them, what they look like. In chapter 12, we see that God gives all of us at least one gift. We have something that when we become Christians, He gives us all a gift. And all of these gifts, He gives you a God-given gift for the benefit of the church, for the edification, the building up of the church, the people around you. Not just in this building, but the people all around you. And if we're going to use those God-given gifts in a biblical way and use our gifts to benefit the church, then we want to strive for excellence, right? By the way, it's hard to edify the church with your gift if you're not at church, but that's a whole nother sermon. Let's look at 1 Corinthians 13. I want to read 1 through 8. We see that we all have all these different gifts. If you read through 12, 13, and 14, we all have all these different gifts. They're all for the sake of the bride of Christ, which is the church. And so let's see how to be loving, how to love, but do it not just like average folk, but in the most excellent way. 1 Corinthians 13, 1. And now I will show you the most excellent way. Stop right there already. I will show you the most excellent way. Keeping all this in context, Paul is saying that if you have the gift of preaching, that's good. If you have the gift of teaching, good for you. If you have the gift of whatever, of speaking or of singing, whatever your gift is, that's great. And that's a God-given gift. But here's the most excellent way to use that gift. The most excellent way to edify the church. It's the most excellent way to live and the most excellent way to die is by using your gifts in these ways. All right, let's continue on. Paul says, I'm going to show you the most excellent way. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels but have not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains but have not love, I have nothing. I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Let's stop right there. Have you ever known somebody who was incredibly gifted but didn't have love, or was not a loving person? You know, maybe it was a pastor who could really speak, and he was a great orator, and he never got lost in his notes like I do, and he never said, but he was a great speaker, but he was not a loving person. Or maybe a great singer, someone who could just had the voice of an angel, but had the heart of a demon. You ever known someone like that? Have you ever known someone who could just organized things incredibly and could run a business but couldn't run people. Didn't know how to deal with people. Or maybe a person of great faith who couldn't share their faith. Paul is saying that if anything good that comes out of a person, it's overshadowed by what's inside of you. It's overshadowed by a hard heart. It's overshadowed, and that is a waste of time or money. If I can stand up here and preach the paint off the walls, but the whole time I'm banging a gong, we've gained nothing. Paul is saying that you can have all those gifts that he's been talking about in 12, but if you don't love, it just doesn't matter. As we read through this, I bet all of us, we're reading through this, love is patient, love is kind, and we're all going, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Oh, I'm patient, I'm kind, I'm loving. Yeah, that's me. And then we go, well, except for that guy over there, right? Except for those people. And we probably all struggle with that. Oh, I'm a very loving person, but I can't love that guy. I mean, good grief, come on, right? Well, we all have that person or persons or people, and maybe we can't check the box about everybody. Well, I want to tell you what Paul is telling us here is that if you can't check the box for anybody, you can't check the box at all. And we should, as we're going through this, we ought to be saying, yes, I am that. I am that. I'm struggling with that. We ought to be thinking about that. But if you can't check the box for everybody, you can't check that box at all. And so I want us to be thinking about those people that we struggle with loving, those unlovable people, those people that have done you wrong. And you have every right to be mad and sad and upset. I want you to think about what Paul is telling us here. He doesn't say that I want you to love and love is patient unless they're hard to get along with. He's saying love is patient, love is kind, always. And the question is here, as we read through this, we can substitute the name of Jesus for all of these. Jesus is kind. Jesus is patient. Jesus is not rude. Jesus, he keeps no record of wrongs. The question is, can you substitute your name in here? Todd is, and I stop right there because I go, oh, man, I struggle with, not everybody. Y'all are easy to love. I love y'all. I'm loving and patient and kind and sweet and all that stuff. And y'all are easy to be like that. But not everybody is easy to love. But it's those people that we're called to, that Paul is talking about here. He's not saying love your church. He's saying love those people that are outside the church. If you want to be called a disciple of Jesus, then we have to love like Jesus did. And the thing is, let's just start here. Let's look at each one of these words a little more in depth. And hopefully you'll be able to put your name. I want you to, as we go through here, when I say love, I want you to put your name and see how it stacks up. Are you patient? Are you patient? The word literally means long-tempered. It's the opposite of being short-tempered. Are you patient when someone does you wrong? See where I went with that? Threw you a loop already, didn't I? Because it's easy to be patient with people that we love and we care about. But when someone does you wrong, are you patient? Are you kind? Now, this doesn't mean, all of these, we need to remember that this doesn't mean that if you're kind, that you have kind thoughts towards someone else, or that you have patient thoughts towards them. These are all action words. These are all proven by our deeds. It's proven by something. Are you kind? That means, do you do kind things for people who use you and mistreat you. Ow! I know, I get it, I understand. But Todd, that's hard to do. Yeah, that's why Paul's telling us to. Now again, inserting your name in all of these, you do it in your mind, that your name does not envy, is not jealous. All right? This isn't talking about being jealous when you catch your spouse flirting with the opposite sex. You have every right to expect them to be with you, to be loyal. And even God is a jealous God. That's not what we're talking about. This is talking about, I want what that person has. Or even to the degree of, I wish I had that and they didn't. Or you does not envy, is not jealous. And like I said, all of these are action words, so how can we show that we're not jealous of someone? And this is particularly true of the gifts. Again, keep it all in context, talking about gifts here. When someone has a gift, how do we show that we're not jealous of that gift? By showing up when they're using their gift. By appreciating them. Maybe that even means financially if that requires. Whatever that looks like. But it's proven by your deeds that you're not jealous. You are not boastful. You're not boastful. It says love is not boastful. Love does not brag. I mean, we all hate it when people brag, right? And yet so many of us struggle with that as well. And so now how can we show, how can we prove that we are not boastful or proud or bragging? See, bragging is the other side of jealousy. Jealousy is wanting what someone else has. Bragging is wanting them to want what you have. So how can we prove that we don't brag? Charles Trumbull once said, he prayed, God, if you will give me the strength, every time I have the opportunity to introduce the topic of conversation, it will always be about Jesus. You know why? Because you can't make yourself look good and God look good at the same time. I would love to give that advice to young preachers, that if you're going to stand up here and make yourself look good, you can't make God look good at the same time. So if you can't make the topic of conversation about Jesus, at least don't make it about yourself. Now, we've got to move on, moving quickly. Love is not proud. It's not arrogant. I've thought before that if I was a door-to-door salesman, I'm selling widgets door to door, I'd knock on the door and I'd say, now ma'am, some of your neighbors say that you wouldn't be able to afford this. For that very reason. Because what does that do to you? I can too. I can afford that. I'm proud. I don't want someone thinking that I can't. When it comes to gifts, we need to remember that they are just that they are gifts. They're given to us by the Holy Spirit. We have nothing to be proud of. So how do we prove that we're not proud? I think I've told this before. A young woman went to her pastor and she said, Pastor, I have this besetting sin in my life that I just can't get out of. Every time I go to church, I look around at all the other women and I can't help but think I'm the prettiest one. No one can compare, you know. I'm the best looking lady in the place. And I want to get rid of this, Pastor, help me. And the pastor said, oh, Mary, honey, that's not a sin. You're just wrong. Sometimes we need someone to help put us in our place sometimes, right? Love is not proud. Love is also, moving on, love is not rude. It does not act unbecomingly. My mother told me once that when my dad was a pastor, he went to a new church one time, and one of the deacons came up to him and told him that his God-given gift, that the deacon's God-given gift was to keep the pastor in place. That's really, even being serious, that was his gift. And so he considered his gift to be to criticize everything that my dad did. And, you know, I can appreciate a loving, constructive criticism. I appreciate that. If you have something for me, please come to me and tell me that. But being rude is not a gift. It's rude, and it's a sin. If you say you have the gift of speaking truth, how many times have you heard, well, I just tell it like it is? Well, if you're telling it like it is, but if you're not speaking the truth in love, then that's a sin. And stop it. It better be done in love, or it's not a gift, it's a fault. So how do we prove that we are not rude? What actions can we take to show that? Well, the best way to show that you're not rude is to show grace. Grace, man. We're all going to mess up. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to need someone to come to us. But if you can do it in love and showing grace, that's because, why? Because God has shown us such grace. Grace is not getting what we deserve. Show grace and you show love. Moving on, verse 5. Love is not self-seeking. Can you say your name is not self-seeking? Okay, here's the scenario. A friend of yours lies about you to make himself look better. Himself, herself, whatever. How do you handle it? Do you make up something about them? Do you go and scream at them? Do you go and tell all your friends about them? Or do you allow the Lord to handle it, knowing that He knows the truth and that He's going to provide for you? I told you this was difficult. And it doesn't get any easier as we go on. Next, love is not easily angered. It's not easily provoked. Doesn't get into arguments easily. Paul's talking about only getting angry at what angers God. Does that sound like you? How about this next one? Married folk, listen up. I know you love your spouse, but the next time you're in an argument, remember this: love keeps no record of wrongs. Oh, my word. I told you it's going to be more and more difficult, right? I know that they messed up. I know that they misused their gift. Last year, last week, last month, whatever it was. But true love forgets it. True love forgets it. It's similar to forgiveness. It's actually a bookkeeper's term that means there's no record of debt. It's been erased, forgiven, forgotten. Keeps no record of wrongs. That's hard. Look at verse 6. Almost done, going quick. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. You show that kind of love by not justifying sin. All right, I'm going to back up and say all this once more. Love does not delight in evil. Showing love to someone does not mean that you justify their sin. Okay? That sometimes you have to call sin a sin. Isaiah 5:20 says, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil." It's not love when you mask over your loved one's sin by saying it's not sin. We have to speak the truth, but speak it in love. That one's deeper. There's a whole 12 different sermons on that one thing, but we're just going by what Paul's talking about here. All right, I love this next one. Moving right along. I'm not saying I'm good at this. I'm just saying that love protects. Love protects. And what it really means is that love means of when you truly showing this agape love, that it will show itself when you shield your loved one from something bad, even when they deserve it. I was at a high school baseball game a while back, and the batter hit a ball way up in the air, and it came over the fence, over the back fence here. And I saw this young man in the crowd. He couldn't tell where the ball went, but I don't know if it was his mother or grandmother or what, but he covered her over. Didn't want the ball to hit her. And so it didn't hit him. It was close. But love protects. Love protects. Maybe you need to protect your loved one from something somebody else says, maybe about them or about you, or from seeing something that might hurt them. I remember driving with my mother somewhere years ago and going down the road, and we're coming up to a red light, and I see that the stupid redneck in front of me has got a bumper sticker on his truck that's just vulgar. And I didn't want my mom to read it. We're coming up to right behind it, and I said, "Mom, look at that convenience store over there." And she goes, "What, Todd?" I said, and I don't know what to do, you know. Look at that front door. Is that like a side door over there? She's, "Todd, what are you talking about? I don't see anything." I said, "No, keep. Okay, Mom, never mind." You know, as the truck went on, I just didn't. I wanted to protect her from seeing that stuff. And if that's your truck, meet me outside, and we'll forget all this love stuff. That makes me mad. Anyway, love always protects. Love always trusts. How do we show someone that we love? How do we show them that we love them so much that we always trust them? Get this. I want you to see this, that we trust them by allowing them to fail without judgment. We allow them to fail without judgment. And who hasn't failed at something? And the last thing you need is someone say, "Well, you failed." Allow them to fail without judgment. And then our first response should be to heal and restore them. That's showing love. You know, Galatians 6:1 says, "Brothers, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently." When you see someone has fallen and you truly love them, then you restore them. Love always trusts. Similarly, the next one, love always hopes. Another way to say this is love shows itself by refusing to take repeated failure as final. When someone fails, and they fail again, and they fail again, and who doesn't? We all mess up. Some of us are better at failure than other people, right? And what better way to prove your love to someone than to always hope that this failure is not the end? To restore them every time. Love always hopes. Love always perseveres. It endures all things. It's actually a military term meaning to continue standing against all opposition. In Acts 7, Stephen, he's being stoned to death. And his last words are, "Lord, don't hold this sin against them." That is absolute persevering love. That in spite of, no matter what is happening, I'm going to choose to love. Love always perseveres, no matter what. So, there you go. There's his list. So all you got to do is go out and do that, right? Easy peasy. We're all just going to be loving, and we're kind and gentle and sweet. And man, that's not easy, is it? In fact, I would tell you this morning that it is impossible without the Spirit of God living inside of you. There's no way you can do it. Even then, even when we have the Spirit of God living inside of us, it's not going to be our default. We have to be so close to God that He's able to work through us and work in us and working His will and His plan. And you have to be so close to Him to allow Him to be able to do this through you. This is not something that Paul is saying you need to work harder on. What you need to work harder on is getting closer to God so that He can do this through you. This agape love that Paul is talking about here is impossible without a life-changing relationship with Jesus. You know, it's much easier to have right doctrine than it is to love like this. It's much easier to have great spiritual gifts than it is to have agape love for the unlovable. It's easier to be right and win an argument than it is to love biblically. The question is, do you want to be right before men, or do you want to be right before God? Timmy, will you come up here? In John 13, Jesus says, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another," that agape one another. If those words don't describe you, then I need to talk with you this morning. I know none of us are perfect. None of us are going to check all these boxes. But if you can't see yourself in here, then maybe you don't have that relationship with Him. Maybe you've never this morning, you have never come to God and said, "Lord, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I need you in my life. I need only you to be controlling in my life. Lord, would you please forgive me of my sins?" If that's not something you have ever done, let's change that this morning. Maybe you need to come and rededicate your life, join the church, whatever it is. Maybe you just need prayer this morning about anything in the world. I'm here, Timmy's here. We'd love to pray with you about anything going on. Let's do that right now.